In this recording, we're going to assess the view that positive methods are the most inappropriate for investigating society. There are 4 different kinds of methodologies. Positivist, which prefers scientific research; Interpretivist, which is more skeptical of scientific research; Feminists, who believe that research is mainstream; and Postmodernists, who believe there is no truth. In terms of how positivists view society, they believe that society is an objective reality made up of social structures and facts that exist independently of the individuals living in society. In terms of methodology, they believe that sociology can and should study society using similar methods and procedures to those used of the natural sciences. This may enable discovery of the causes of human behaviour and predictions of future trends. Methods include using the hypothetico-deductive model to test theories and quantitative methods in order to collect empirical data to measure social facts. The use of standardized research methods and careful sampling techniques enables the collection of statistical data that is reliable and representative. This enables findings to be applied to the whole of society and make generalized statements about the causes and effects of social activities. They prefer questionnaires and structured interviews because they produce quantitative data on large numbers of people that is reliable. This involves personal detachment of the research and reduces the risks of interviewer bias. Durkheim studied suicide to demonstrate that it was not an individual act. He used quantitative scientific methods by isolating what he considered to be the most important variables to establish a cause and effect relationship. However, you could argue that positivist methods are the most inappropriate society because interpretivists argue that positive research is not valid, imposed on the researcher's own framework, unempathetic, and statistics are just social constructions. So interpretivists view society as a social construction of meaning that has no objective reality or existence, independent of the meanings and interpretations people hold. In terms of methodology, interpretivists believe that society is fundamentally different from the natural world. Sociologists have to adopt Verstehen approaches that enable them to gain insight into people's motivations and meanings by seeing the world as they do and building grounded theories using an inductive approach and qualitative data. Qualitative methods enable greater understanding of people's meanings, interpretations and motives, and how these influence their behaviour. They would like to use participant observation because it enables Verstehen by fully immersing the researcher into the world of the research. This produces highly valid, in-depth and detailed accounts of the world seen by those being researched. For example, Atkinson rejected any rate of the truth of suicide statistics. He was highly critical of Durkheim's study, as he supported the idea of social facts to produce an objective reality, but Atkinson believes that research has nothing to do with social reality. However, positivists would reject interpretivists because they believe that it's not reliable, it's too subjective, it's affected by interviewer bias and the Hawthorne effect, and it's not generalizable. So, feminists are also critical of quantitative positivist research because they argue that it ignores and excludes women from the issues of concern to women. For example, Mize found that positivist research has a masculine bias and it's produced with a male view on social life that ignores the experiences of women. Also, feminists argue that positivist research treats women as insignificant extension of men. For instance, Stanley and Wise found that findings from research on men are generalized to women despite different experiences. And feminists also argue that positivist research uses mainstream methods to research the experiences of women. For example, Oakley believes that positivist research mirrors wider society. For instance, the researcher takes control of the situation and decides the important issues. Feminists prefer interpretivist methods because feminists emphasize the importance of warmth, cooperation, information sharing and empathy, which is all associated with interpretivism. They prefer to use informal interviews in order to get valid, in-depth accounts of women's lives. For instance, Oakley used informal, unstructured interviews to find out about motherhood. She shared her own experiences, which helped to produce valid and detailed information about the woman. So overall, Westmoreland believes that positivist large-scale surveys and official statistics may be useful to discover the scale of problems. However, statistical information just on its own is inadequate, as feminists want to know how this affects the lives of women. And you could argue that feminist approaches are different from positivist and interpretivist research, as there is a clear value commitment behind the research to improve the lives of women. So in conclusion, postmodernists will also reject positive research, as there is no one objective reality but many competing ones, and there's been a transgression of traditional categories of sociology that means that research only attacks another view rather than creates new knowledge.